Good morning, Professor Tamara. Very, very nice to meet you and to talk a bit with you about sustainability, that I know is one of your fields of research, the main field, and also your passion. Can I ask you a personal question? What is a professor from Eurasia, from Russia, doing in Hong Kong?
Well, good morning or good evening. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to join your wonderful, amazing, efficient initiative. And I'm happy to be here. And for your first question, what the professor from Eurasia doing in Hong Kong is, the answer is simple. The same as every academic of international origin is doing globally, promoting sustainability, running research on sustainability and sustainability education, and serving the community. Academic profession is a global endeavor these days. So ethnic origins, as well as education, which we receive elsewhere, as well as the point of service where we are placed, really makes the science of sustainability truly interdisciplinary, truly global, truly international, which gives us, people like you, me, and our viewers, to move this science forward.
And I think it's so important when we think about the 17 goal for sustainable development goal, saying that we should all cooperate to promote sustainability, and the role of universities on promoting education for sustainability and also prepare our students to be actors, to lead to climate action, and to build a society more resilient and more sustainable. I think it's really, really, really important. And how do you see the initiatives to promote sustainable development in Hong Kong, in China, in Asia, and also the challenges like overpopulation, facing air pollution, and all the initiatives to promote sustainability in Asia? What are your thinking about, Professor?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's a very broad question, and everything you've asked or included into your question, it has different parts of it, deserves a separate lecture in your master course. You know that better than me. So I will tell you the story of how sustainable development goals came into my personal research and teaching picture. In what context? This journey started in 2012 when during the famous Rio Plus 20 summit, academics got together in a parallel meeting and prepared a joint memorandum for the government to contribute the summit. At that point, sustainable development goals were not yet sustainable development goals. Let's put it this way. So, but at that point, my research included what we call complexity, education, and sustainability. So this paradox: on one hand, we have sustainability, which has to do with nobody really knows the disciplinary definition of it, and it does not have much of the intellectual, how would I say, theoretical base beyond, and that's the point of criticism. On the other hand, we have education, which is one of the places where sustainability has been fostered throughout in different forms. Before it was called ecology, then environmental education, then sustainability has been fostered in higher education and educational systems. So that's when I published the first paper together with my colleague, Professor J. Park, on ecological complexity in higher education. And together we talk about the rise of the public and John Dewey's, the complexity theory, ecological theories, and we came up together with the idea of ensoulment. This paradox that in different institutions around the world, sustainability understood differently, fostered differently. There are myriads, gazillions of initiatives which has been running successfully or semi-successfully all over the world, but they all have very different, not impact, but I would say influence on human mind. My true belief that sustainability does not start anywhere. Sustainability is in the head of human being. Sustainability is something, it's the reality that we do create. So how do we make it happen? So the first concept of ensoulment, ecological ensoulment, had to do with the how do we make this idea in our mind to make it all the way through to our heart, to our soul and souls, and make the sustainable life a sustainability action. Because again, sustainability in my field, in my field of sustainable education, I defined as a set of relationships. So relationships with oneself, relationship with others, and relationships with nature. So that was the beginning, not many years ago. So then when these sustainable development goals, they were called Millennium Goals back then, yes. Remember, right? So they were kind of parallel because it's a big policy running in parallel. It's a policy which semi-affected the educational institutions, which is my field. But we all know it's not mandatory. There are lots of critiques against it. And so the sustainability consciousness of how we really make or initiate or foster the consciousness, and by consciousness I mean the state of mind, which involves values, beliefs, and generates action which is ecologically sustainable, which is sustainable in the long run. So that I'm not going to talk much about an idea of consciousness. Our viewers can probably even Google it and find the relevant material themselves, since William James, that idea has been well researched. So yet in about 2015, 2016, we run under the local funding here in Hong Kong. We run the research pilot study on sustainability consciousness within the one single university. Hong Kong is a location in Southeast Asia. It's a city, urban city in Southeast Asia with the developed higher education system, which is follows the British, the European structure, colonial structure, we call it. As a Portuguese, you know what colonial really implies here. So, and at that moment, the pilot study revealed interesting results. I'm saying interesting as a neutral word because you know in science this word really does not has many meaning, but much meaning does not give us much meaning. But we discovered that there is some discrepancy in how sustainability altogether perceived by students here in Hong Kong. And of course, we applied for the funding and we received the governmental funding for the 2-year study of sustainability consciousness from the Research Council of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region in 2016, 2017. And that's when we run the 2016, 2018, we ran the study which covered the about 5,000 students, and then we did the interviews, and then we researched narrations and narratives. So we did both empirical studies and qualitative part of it to find out how sustainability consciousness is connected with education, and what role education may play in it. And we came to the results that yes, education matters, family matters, culture matters. And that's where the answer to your question comes to start. Culture, no matter how you define it, has a tremendous, that's what our study showed, has a tremendous impact or influence, I would say, on how a person, in our case, a student, a young Hong Konger, 17, 20-year-old, perceives sustainability, acts on sustainability, and lives sustainable, or builds his or her reality with sustainability related values, sustainability related virtues, how it's all happening. It's a very complex story, yet Hong Kong, with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, Hong Kong took a leading role. And that happened 2019, I believe, 2019, around December, when Hong Kong officially pledged its leading role to be a sustainability hub, one of the hubs in Southeast Asia. Because as we know, the goal, the structure of sustainable development, implementation of sustainable development goals is much less chaotic now comparing to sustainable millennium goals. So we do have a regional hubs. We do not have one institute, academic institute in Columbia University in the US as it was before, who was running everything. Now we have the non-governmental organizations which has chapters in every part of the world. And it's for profit. It means that we may receive, unlike United Nations or UNESCO, who are struggling with money, and the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals requires 9.1 billion. That was before the pandemic dollars. So Hong Kong pledged to basically become one of these hubs and contribute the share of $1 billion to the basket, the financial basket of implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, since Hong Kong is a financial hub. It's a financial hub. So, and that was done in the governmental level. So at the same moment, overnight, the next day, the next morning, all higher education institutions, all universities, colleges became obliged. The implementation happened instantly. Whatever was happening before was instantly structured, instantly shaped into the policy with the reports. And at this moment, I believe Hong Kong is one of the pioneers. I'm not saying that other parts of Southeast Asia are not involved. Yet, 2 points from my talk I would like to emphasize. First, implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, and that's what our research shows, that sustainability consciousness or sustainability mindset, which is necessary for any implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. We want Sustainable Development Goals to be in the human minds. We do not want them to be instrumental just around. We want them to be in human minds and human hearts. So that is culturally specific. We may not move forward talking about sustainability mindset in implementation of sustainable development goals, which is done by humans. It's done by people. So if a person is not sustainability minded, implementation of any policy at any level is pointless because it creates a facade. It does not transform the environment. I'm exaggerating. Pointless, of course. You understand it's exaggeration. I'm not diminishing all the initiatives, structural initiatives which have been done. They have a big value. I'm exaggerating to make a point here.
Professor Tamara, I found fantastic what you said about the sustainability mindset and the sustainability consciousness. My question is, how can we foster that awareness, that sustainability mindset? How can we prepare our students to have that kind of consciousness and engage them on the principles and values, as you pointed, of sustainability?
Well, I think every educator, every person with a sustainability concern in our minds and hearts wish that there was a magic switch that we can just switch and then kind of a brain transformation happens out there. Of course, we all do in all parts of the world the best we can do. Again, close to meet the context, who we are educating or teaching or whom we are fostering. We, of course, have to respect not only context, but the ecological principle of free will. We may not enforce sustainability. And ecological responsibility, we may not enforce because of the principle of the free will. Yet, I would point not at myself, or I would not list or describe any of the successful sustainability education or sustainability initiatives which leads every road which has a good intention, with the intention, proper intention, leads to sustainability. I would point at what the educational science talks about it. So in educational pedagogical science, there are a few theories which describes a path to transforming a mindset, transforming the views and values of which are connected to the a worldview of a person using multiple methods. There is no one single method as you imagine. So the idea is, there is such an idea of transformative learning, and I believe it's used by a British educator, Stephen Sterling. Then it implies that who is not the first one who brought it in. There is, for example, idea of systemic thinking by Fritjof Capra, an American educator. He is more of he's a scientist, really, physicist on it. So how do we, which talks about systemic thinking. So transforming the world of oneself, of a person, or perception of one person, or worldview of one person, is a complex endeavor, but it has, the scientists pointed, different stages. So, for example, I mentioned transformative learning, I mentioned systemic thinking, I mentioned, what else do we use? Deep learning, also, that's used in Australia by by Professor Bateson. So the stages are as follows. First, we may present factual information. That's the first stage. We present facts about a global warming. whatever issue you choose. Second stage, so a student is learning on facts. Second, we present a paradigm, an idea. So a student learns within a paradigm, and we provide a student with a set of alternatives, So factual information, a paradigm, set of alternatives, based on theory, right, of transformative learning. So then we move to the next stage, and the next stage is when we provide a context. And within this context, our idea for the student to create a paradigm, form a paradigm, and make choices of the alternatives. And that is where, through the process of forming his or her own paradigm, and also choosing among the alternatives, or creating an alternatives, making these choices, that's when the values of the person get to shine or get affected. And again, I'm simplifying, of course. All our viewers I sent to read all the papers and books, authors I've mentioned here. So, and then that's scientifically, from the point of view of pedagogical science, how this transformation may happen. But whether or not it happens in the classroom, whether or not it happens in the family, does it happen on the street? Does it happen in communication with a friend? It happens, humans shape our reality. We humans shape our reality at every second of our time. So our paradigms are formed constantly. So teaching, I think the most common pedagogical, common and most used pedagogical approach is it used to call critical thinking. I don't know what it's called now. You may or critical thinking, or we have pedagogy for the oppressed. We can go back to this idea, of course. So any positive, any initiative, again, which has an intention of change our world for the good, to invoke the sustainable values in oneself and another person. Any initiatives, any move matters, and I believe there are no single recipe. It's too complex of the task we're dealing with, but we're dealing with it good. Well, did I answer your question?
Yes. Something that we noticed in the initiatives that we promote here in the University of Southern Santa Catarina is that one of our biggest advantage is the engagement of students and their participation in our projects. When we are developing some pilot module with the community, and that really brings them a new perspective. And now that I listen to your expression that I will use in the future, it really gives them a sustainability mindset. They can really transfer their ideas to their hearts and to action, and that I think it's really important. This afternoon I was talking with Professor Arum from Pondicherry University, and we were talking about the climate action and this scenario that we have of climate emergency and the need to act, and the importance of universities as institutions that can really promote climate action. And I think for a city like Hong Kong, almost a kind of a city-state with such a large population, as you pointed, a financial hub, to become a sustainable city, to become an example of sustainable development practices, it will bring a very, very positive case and example to Asia. So congratulations, Professor, for your wonderful work, for being a sustainability champion. And I don't know how we didn't met in Rio, but thank God there were so many of us there. But we will have future opportunities, and please count with us. I want to ask you to do your final remarks, and please let some information to our viewers.
Well, thank you. I can sum up with can sum up just following on what you have said. Learning by doing is the approach which has been embraced the most, probably. However, our study on sustainability consciousness of Hong Kong graduates showed that doing is not actually, or action is not actually a mark which indicates that sustainability or sustainability mindset has been there. That was a result which we had to run an in-depth qualitative study on to find out why we got this result. And the answer was culture. Western culture, in Western idea, implies the action as the alpha and omega of the of the change. However, we shall keep in mind that sustainability, as it is a Western concept, and it has been imposed on other parts of the world, just like and perceived as part of the another colonial hiccup, if I may use this word here. Apology. I do not want to offend anybody. However, sustainability as the set of philosophy and relationships where the human stays in relation to others and nature has been deep into the philosophy, for example, of Confucianism. So culture and authentic philosophical and cultural paradigms and views may not reflect exactly what has been a Western forefront of sustainability fight. Our study, qualitative part of our study showed that Hong Kongers, the batch we investigated, the Hong Kong students, those 5,000 which we investigated, have deeply involved in sustainability values. They have those values. They're there, and they act upon when it's needed. So merely reusing, reducing, and recycling may not mean that the choice will be, when the time comes, the same person made a sustainability, the choice which is sustainability sound sustainable choice. So I would urge to come away from the rhetoric of let's do it, let's save the world, let's fight for that, and pay a closer attention with utmost respect and using scientific tools of inquiries to what sustainability actually is and means in different cultures, to different parts of the world, to those billions of human beings in whom we feel we have to foster and educate. We have to be very cautious about.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. We have just 1 minute more. If you want, I can create another link, because on Zoom you have just 40 minutes of meeting.
Fine,
okay?
we're done. I think we're done, aren't we?
Professor Tamara, fantastic, fantastic your final remark, and I was thinking about the dean from the Singapore public school, Kishore Mahbubani. He used to say